Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hey everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time News. I am Harry McCullough. We're previewing, of course, the Terrebonne Parish Council meeting. It'll be on Wednesday, and we'll do that with the Terrebonne Parish Council Chairman, District 4, John Amity. Thanks so much for being with us, John.
Always a pleasure to come.
I appreciate it. So a big meeting, still got a lot of stuff going on, as always, as government will do, right?
The wheels keep rolling.
So we've got a few things we want to talk about. Still dealing with the Ida repairs and to the public building. So that's on the agenda.
The public thinks a lot of times that they're out there alone dealing with their issues, but parish government, we're dealing with the same thing too. We had to first go after our insurance companies, and then we were finally able to settle on that. And now that we have the money, now we're starting our repairs. We've begun work on the government towers, and now we have some projects coming before us for the Civic Center repairs, the municipal auditorium, the main branch library. So it's a couple years out, but it seems to be one of those little pesky things that's necessary to get things done. And now that we have the dollars to do it, we want to get in there and get this operation going again. With the purchase of the Whitney Bank building, that really helped because now we had some space we can move our people back to.
For people to move to do those kind of projects, do you need a certain kind of contractor in? Because we have talked about that in the past before. When you get a swath that the size of a hurricane,
right,
like Ida, you have everybody, all these municipalities, all the people, all trying to get the same kind of contractors. They have to be bonded at a certain level, right, I guess, to do the kind of work y'all are requiring. How tough is that to find those kind of people?
It's really tough because everybody's out there using the same guys, or trying to use the same guys. So if you look at these contracts that we're voting on, you're going to see different contractors, and these contractors, you always want to try to get somebody close to home, keep all your tax dollars right here local, but in order to get all those things accomplished, then you have to go outside, and then some of these are specialty contractors. So we have roofers in our area, but some are not capable of doing the size of the job that we need done, and so we have to go out and find those guys. Of course, a lot of them have so much work. I mean, the company I work for, the workload is there because of the Ida repairs and stuff that, we have to do what we can do. We only have so many employees to be able to do those jobs. So sometimes we have to slow down on our bidding in order to stay committed to the projects we have. And all the contractors are having that. So unfortunately, sometimes we have to go out for those out-of-town contractors and get them in order for us to get our stuff fixed.
But I mean, you think about just from one storm, right? This is not storms that happen over and over. St. Charles Parish, Lafourche Parish, Orleans, going up to Tangipahoa, all, and then school boards and then municipalities. So a lot of work.
We were talking before, and when Laura hit, we went over there as a company, and we were doing a lot of work over there. And then, it's like, oh, wait, now we have to come back home. And one of the priorities that we want is to get waterworks up and running, get the schools up and running, get those things that are necessary, that provide necessary services to the people of the parish, get the parish going. We want to get them up and running. So it's been a challenging several years.
But the oil that makes it all work is getting the money, right? Getting the money on board.
That's it. It all revolves around that.
All right. So the Victims of Crime Act, you have some grants that you guys will be talking about, right?
So what we're doing is we're applying for 2 different grants. And, a lot of people ask government, they ask us, where do you get the funds? It clearly can't come from just what you're collecting tax-wise here locally in the parish, and it doesn't. We try to get our federal dollars back into the area. So last year they passed this Victim of Crimes Act, and they allocated some money in there. So we have a couple of things that we're doing. One is to provide a SANE coordinator. Now, SANE is Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner. So,
Which is actually in the news because of what's happening in St. Tammany Parish.
Right.
They have one guy qualified for the seat, and the first thing he did was kill this act.
right.
And he's got a history
Right, he
from
does.
20 years ago. But anyway, I digress. I'm sorry,
So,
but that's
no.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's it. So this is a $94,000 grant that's going to provide a coordinator that's going to work with the other nurses that are SANE nurses, and help with leadership abilities, organization, things like that. And then we have the second one is it's going to provide direct immediate crisis services. So through organizations that are already existing, that have advocates for victims of crime, it's going to help them. It's a $150,000 grant that we're applying for, and they'll be able to use that to give immediate assistance to the victims of crime through advocacy.
Yeah, going back to that SANE Act, from what I understand, Louisiana is one of the tops in the country, one on the good side of a list. You get a registered nurse that actually goes to the victim, spends like 5 or 6 hours with them, as opposed to an emergency room nurse that's just trying to spend a half hour or so.
And people don't realize it's forensic work, you know, so it
Builds
really
cases,
right. That's what I was getting to. It's going to help so that when the victim will be protected and get justice. So there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. These are just some of the things that we're fighting for our federal dollars so that, you know, we can help those people, unfortunately, that are victims in one way or the other.
Yeah, do we have a big issue with that? Or is that a real?
Well, you know, we've been trying to get some really good numbers on crime, and unfortunately, the reporting of crime doesn't really give us very accurate numbers. So that's something that I've asked my wife and the legislature to try and do something about, so we can get better numbers. So those numbers we use to get federal dollars, and so we want more accurate numbers so we can get better grants.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John, well, stick with us. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're talking about the Terrebonne Parish Council meeting. It'll happen on Wednesday, and some of the topics with John Amedee that will be covered. Of course, the chairman of the council. Let's talk a little bit about MWPP environmental audit. Tell me a little bit about that.
All right. So what that is it's municipal water pollution prevention. This is a report that we have to file with the DEQ on our wastewater plants. We have one in the northern part of the parish, one in the southern, on their outputs. They have to meet very specific requirements before they can release that water back into the bayous. And so it's not a real fancy thing. I just want to talk about it just a brief moment to let the people know, because of course they're always concerned of, you know, their drinking water.
Right.
And there are very strict requirements that the plants have to meet before they reintroduce that water back into the system. And if anybody wants to, you know, if they're a person that likes to read information that most people wouldn't want to, and they want to read these reports, it can be pretty interesting to see that there are requirements out there. They can't just dump this this water back out into the community without making sure that all the hazards are taken out of it.
Right. So yeah, it's real important. A little tedious when you're trying to read it, for sure. And we've done a good job. Seems like we got a good water work.
We do. The sewer, the pollution control system. The guy over there, Brian, does a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about something that's very interesting when I look at it, is the Main Street Corridor Master Plan. So a lot of folks, they remember probably 2 or 3 years ago, maybe now.
Yeah, with
they
COVID, I'm really-
realigned, right?
I'm really lost now.
Yeah, storm and COVID will do that to you, right? but I remember driving here to HTV and down Main Street, and the cars were all parked differently. They had some planters out in the road where you can pull in diagonally as opposed to trying to parallel park. It seemed like it was going to be a real good asset, and it's part of the master plan now, right?
It is. So what we did is we tasked them with taking a look at the Main Street corridor. Now, a lot of people think, we say Main Street. It's really going from about Polk Street all the way to Grand Caillou Road, and then it goes back into some of the blocks. Some of the historical districts covered, the restoration district areas are covered, the downtown development districts are covered. So it's not mainly just Main Street, but, something to revitalize Main Street, bring some attention back down to it, draw in some people from the outside, bring in, those guys so they stay in our hotels and spend some money in our restaurants and stores and shops. But it's pretty neat. You go to other areas like Natchitoches and some of these other towns, and you look at their Main Street, and you're like, we need to do something with ours. We can take advantage of ours and do the same thing. And this master plan was presented to us, and we'll be voting on it in a couple of weeks, maybe, unless we want to tweak it some more, make some changes in it. It's a lot to take in, but it's really not anything that's set in stone. It's the possibilities,
Right.
The what ifs.
Well, I know, we have that beautiful walk along the Bayou, and I know a lot of people were talking, going back to water, a lot of people were talking about maybe using Bayou Terrebonne again and getting kayaks in there.
And that's all part of the Activate the Bayous portion of the study. They looked at the current conditions, seeing what we have, what's happening, what things we need to spruce up. That's why you see a lot of the sidewalk work that's going on. We want to do some safe streets projects in there so that, people can get out on the road and not have to worry about the traffic. So they took a look at current conditions to get a baseline start. They had some of the people involved in the community get together and go walk out there. They had a couple of meetings. One was at Le Petit Theater, where they just took along with the consultants and kind of painted a picture in everybody's mind of what it could be. And then they got down to work based off of those meetings and started putting some data, doing some comparisons.
So as I look at their report and what they'll be presenting, the current conditions, the market analysis, the case studies, I'm drawn to implementation strategies. So where are we at when it's fun to study all these, but where are we going to implement a lot of these?
We're hoping, of course, to be able to implement as much as we can. Of course, it all, like you said, comes down to money. They've got some funding matrix in there of possible ways of getting some of the dollars. Now, this study was done in 2022. It's just been compiled and coming to us, or it started, I think, in late 2022. So what they propose in some of those funding streams may not be available today, but there are still things out there. So, it's not one big pile of money. So it's going to take a bunch of different piles of monies for the different things. Increasing housing. There are funds with CBDG that might be available that can be used. We were doing the CBDG-R revitalization stuff that's been hot on the council here the past couple of weeks, the $117 million. Some of that can possibly be used for that. We do have a walkway on the Bayou side that we've been talking a lot about extending that. And then the activating the bayous is, cleaning up the bayou and getting it where it needs to be. So that way we can do things like put some fishing piers out on it so people can come fish and
Get some catfish
kayaks and, paddle boats or whatever.
Gondolas? No.
I wouldn't mind a gondola. I was really sad to see the one in New Orleans go away, but just beautifying the street.
Yeah.
If you get your hands, you can go to www.tpcg.org/recovery, and you can see the plan. And I think it's about 131 pages of what could be. And so we're going to be discussing it, voting on it in a couple of weeks, and then see if we can get some funding and get it moving.
Great. Sounds interesting. Well, John, appreciate it. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
So,